I want to spend a minute on Tulsi Gabbard. So, Director of National Intelligence, which has gotten a lot of people upset as well. By the way, was it the greatest trade to get Tulsi for Liz Cheney? I mean, that I don't think you could improve that. I'd make a sports analogy, but I don't know any. So they're upset. They don't want her to do this. They're actually back some corners of the internet with she's a Russian spy. Like she's somehow Russian because Hillary Clinton put out that nonsense when Tulsi was so effective in that 2020 presidential debate. In any event, what is going to happen with Tulsi? Will she be confirmed as Director of National Intelligence?
Yeah, I think she's got a different set of criteria and that most people do like Tulsi Gabbard. And I think she's spent an awful lot of time over the last couple of years explaining her journey from, being a Bernie Sanders supporter, essentially, all the way to Donald Trump and the Republican Party and where she's gone. From an intel perspective, she's got a resume that works amongst anyone you'd want to see there. She's a veteran. She's very smart. She spent a lot of time on these issues. I think there'll probably be some pretty serious questions. I mean, this is what the nomination process should look like, by the way. I mean, you're going to have Tom Cotton, a senator from Arkansas, who's now number 3 in leadership, who will lead the intel panel in the Senate. And he's got some very specific ideas when it comes to intelligence and national security that he's going to want some assurances and be addressed upon. She's going to have that opportunity. And I think provided she handles those confirmation questions well, I can very easily see her getting confirmed.
Well, can I ask you another question? By the way, credit to Greg Price for that Tulsi for Cheney line. He tweeted that out earlier. Can I ask you a question? So she's going to get in there. I don't think Tulsi is an expert in national intelligence. I don't see anything in her resume that would suggest she is, but she's an honest broker. She served our country in the military. Obviously, she was a congresswoman. I think he's hiring her for her judgment and her loyalty and her sensibilities. So is that good enough? I mean, she's going to be surrounded by a team that will help her understand the issues. But am I wrong? Like, as long as she's got a team that can say, here's what we're looking at, here are the decisions we need to make, she can do this job.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no question she can do this. I do think she's got pieces of her resume that do fit this. And I think she spent an inordinate amount of time on national security issues in her career and sort of understands it. There's one set of questions that is going to be most significant amongst Senate Republicans, and it comes down to a libertarian viewpoint of data collection and information collection of our intelligence agencies. This has been a battle going back to the Bush administration. Democrats used to be for it, and then they were against it. Republicans have always sort of had this viewpoint of what we ought to be collecting on foreign adversaries, and the more libertarian leaning side of the Republican Party, think like Rand Paul, has always had a problem with that. And she's sort of aligned herself with the Rand Paul view of a lot of that. That is not where the center of that conference is. But I think when she listens to these arguments and understands fully, you're right, she's an honest broker. I think she has every capability of providing assurances that she's not going to shut down the intelligence apparatus of the United States, as some people would want her to do. She won't do that. And I think
she's not going to go spying on civilians, though.
Yeah, she's not. And that is where this whole thing has gone astray and where people have tried to figure out where those lines are. It's a very complicated process, but it's one who somebody like that with integrity could help get the base of the Republican Party back to a one view of how you handle intelligence collection from our agencies.
I think the one thing that Smug mentioned earlier, which is 100% true, and I think is a through line on all of these picks, is Donald Trump wants people he can trust in all of these departments to execute his agenda and vision for America. And that means they have to have loyalty to that vision, whether it's Matt Gaetz or Pete Hegseth or Tulsi, somebody with a different view who reflects the mandate that the voters gave him on election day is there to disrupt the status quo and the failed bureaucracy. I mean, and it's not just Tulsi. It's not just Matt Gaetz. I mentioned Pete Hegseth. You remember for the 4 years of the Trump administration, the idea of a deep state became a joke in liberal media. They're like, that doesn't exist. Right. And then the second Donald Trump's administration was over, you had TikToks, full media reports about how people in the Pentagon slow walked his policies that he wanted to implement, which I don't know, feels like a fireable offense.
Yes.
That they weren't informing the president of the United States, that like when he told them, hey, this is how I want to plan the step down in withdrawal in Afghanistan, they would ignore him and they'd slow walk it and they would hope he would forget. That's why these picks are so important for Donald Trump. He needs people that he can deputize at these departments to fulfill his objectives.
Yeah,
that's right. I got to tell you this. So yesterday we talked a little bit about Kristi Noem, who I admit was not my favorite. After the puppy killing incident and the reports about her and Corey Lewandowski, I'm not going to lie, I changed my opinion of her, even though I really liked her when she came on the show to promote her book. But if she gets confirmed to this very important position, we are going to have to support her, and I will. And the more I thought about it, the more I kept thinking along the lines of, Tulsi for Liz and what a good trade this was. Who in their right mind wouldn't take Kristi Noem over Rachel Levine? Which is one of he is one of the senior most HHS or Department of whatever. He's over at HHS officials that we have. Like, look at this. At least we're now replacing the fake women with real ones at the top of government. And I'm just thinking about some of the freaks who have been in the Biden administration. Remember Sam Brinton? The luggage thief who was stealing the women's clothes. But even before that came out, he was parading around our government with his bald head and his big red lips and his weird clothing. They hired him to work on nuclear regulatory stuff. I guess I'm just sort of feeling like there's only so much Trump can do to shock me at this point, right? Like, I don't care about the picadillos. Go ahead.
It puts it in perspective, Megyn, and I'm so glad you mentioned this because, everyone's going to have a debate internally in the Republican Party about Donald Trump's picks and which ones they like, which ones they don't like, and what the confirmation process is. But in that montage you just played, it's important perspective for everybody listening if you're watching this. Anybody Donald Trump puts up is going to be a vast improvement on what we have now. That's 100% true.
No trans luggage stealing that I know of.
No,
right. Yeah.
And I'm going to venture it's going to be mostly like real women and real men. You're not allowed to not hire somebody because they're trans. That's what the Supreme Court said. Justice Gorsuch was the deciding vote. Even if they're in a position where they have to interact with people who might be, very against the belief that one can trans one's body, notwithstanding what God has done to us. In any event, that's a Gorsuch thing that okay. In any event, but we're certainly not going to have people parading around with bald heads and blue lips and S&M gear. At a minimum, I think President Trump will reinstitute a dress code if we get that kind of a nonsense, which is just a return to normalcy. 4 years of crushing interest rates, runaway inflation, and reckless government spending. And who is paying the price? You are. You might have bills stacking up, debt collectors on your back. You might barely be able to keep food on the table. Done with Debt can be a way out. They have developed new, aggressive strategies designed to get you out of debt permanently, without bankruptcy and without loans. Done with Debt stands between you and your bill collectors. They can go head-to-head with these creditors, getting balances reduced, interest rates slashed, and penalties stopped. They create a plan to end your debt fast and put more cash in your pocket every month. And right now, Done with Debt is accepting new clients, but you need to act fast. Some credit relief programs expire. Before you even make another payment, consider a visit to donewithdebt.com or call 1-888-322-1054 right now. Speak with one of their debt relief strategists for free. Go to donewithdebt.com. That's donewithdebt.com. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.